All right, everybody, let's dial in a shot with the Breville Barista Touch. Now, I'm not a coffee pro, I'm not a barista, I'm just somebody who really enjoys making their coffee at home, not paying crazy amounts at coffee shops and making it taste really good. So I've done quite a bit of extensive research on this, and I've been using my Breville Barista for over a year now with pretty consistently good tasting shots. Now, this process is kind of a pain in the butt, so whenever I find a coffee that I like, or beans that I like, I don't like to experiment too much. I kind of just stick with that so I don't have to keep dialing in. Now, you only need a few additional things, something to put your beans in. They have like those little thingies, but that's not necessary. A gram scale, I got this one off Amazon. They're very inexpensive. And your beans. So today we're going to be using Counterculture 46. This is a very dark roast, which usually means you have to grind it coarser, and this is one of my favorites, if not my favorite, bean out there. So, all right, we're gonna zero the scale and then start to add our beans. And I prefer a 2-to-1 ratio, so if I'm putting in 20 grams of espresso beans, I expect to get a shot that is about 40 grams. We are going to lose a tad bit in the process, so I always do a little bit more, and typically I'm going to end up with about 19. So once we've got that, I'm going to throw this in the hopper and adjust my settings. It's been about 3 months since I've used these beans because I have been experimenting. If I remember correctly, it was somewhere in the 13, 14 range, but I do also have a new portafilter, and that can also vary as to what the settings are going to be. So let's try 13, 16 and see how that goes. And that is the coarseness of 13 at 16 seconds. And this can always be adjusted, of course, depending on the weight. So what we're going to do, and I always use a paper filter on the bottom, but when I am dialing in, because I'm always going to be using a paper filter on the bottom, but when I'm dialing in, I do like to not put a paper filter on the top, which I normally would, because I do like to see how the extraction turned out. So we're gonna weigh this with everything on it and zero out that scale. All right, and here we go. And now we're gonna wait again and see if we got all of it. Okay, yeah, most of it. So I think that's a pretty good setting. I don't want to take it up to 17 seconds because I think we might go a little bit over at that point. Which obviously we can't go over because I only put the exact amount. And if you're always doing that, then that's fine. But I don't, because I'm lazy. I'm not gonna be doing this every single time. So I'm gonna throw all of the beans in there once I'm done dialing in. And so I want to make sure that I have the best settings. Now we're going to WDT, and this is always a necessary step. This machine does have a Baratza burrs, which I've heard are decent. It's the best grinder in the Breville Barista line, but it's still not, some crazy $2,000 grinder. So WDT is a necessary step. All right, now here's where you're gonna lose a little bit of your grind. So I like to take this tool, and this is totally optional, kind of just push it in a little bit so that we don't lose too much. And then we're gonna press down a little bit and swirl so that we can get a nice even surface for our tamp. And that's totally optional. Some people do like the little finger swipe to get it in. I'm not a huge fan of that. It adds oils from your hands to the beans. All right, and we're tamped. Let's just check again, make sure you put this pack on or the weight's gonna be off. And let's see how we're looking. Great, okay, so we barely lost any. All right, so we're at a good 19. That means we want about a 38 gram extraction. Let's see. All right, now you're gonna take your cup and you're gonna weigh that and zero out the scale. All right. Okay, and once that's at zero as well. Now to go to manual mode, which this is how you always want to do it when you're dialing in, because you want to make sure that you get the right amount of time. So you're gonna hold down the brew button and it turns into manual. And now let's take a look at our extraction. This part is hard because you want to have a look at how it's coming out while also keeping an eye on the scale and the time. And I think we got it just right here. And wow, I mean, just look at that gorgeous extraction from that Icape portafilter. All right, so let it go a little bit over. 28 seconds is going to be the sweet spot for this one. And that's perfect, because that's kind of what you want. You want something from 27 to 31 seconds, 35 at the absolute most. If you have to go over 35 to get your output, then it's like way too fine and you have to make it coarser. If you are going way under that, if you're at under 25 seconds, then it is way too coarse and the water's coming through way too quickly. So look at that gorgeous crema. That is quite a nice extraction, I must say. You don't always get it on the first try. When I first dialed these beans in, again, because I've done this before a few months ago, but when I first dialed these in, it took me like 6 different times, which is why you kind of just want to buy a big bag, and if you like it, stick with it, because you are going to waste quite a bit of beans if you're trying to dial it into where it's a good shot. So let's test it. That's perfect. Not too bitter. It still gets all the flavors out. This is like a caramelly, nutty blend. But yeah, that's great. All right, well, I hope that helped you dial in your shots. Again, I'm not a professional, but I do love making coffee. I've been doing it for over a year now, so I hope that helps you get started on your at-home coffee journey. Bye-bye.